When did you even find Islam? Why did you even start searching for Islam in the first place?
So I started searching. So I was raised Catholic. My whole mother's side of the family is very Catholic religious, and so being raised in that, and I wasn't really understanding the doctrine and how that Catholic faith fit with me, and so I went on a search to find.
What kind of questions sparked immediately with you when you were learning about Catholicism?
It was a lot of the. It felt very regressive in terms of like rigidity and a lot of the rituals, especially regarding communion and that sort of thing. And I didn't really understand their formation of the godly figure. And through my searching and through my reading toward where I could find something that I understood, I read through the Quran, and that's where I found a bit more understanding relative to where my understanding came through the Bible, and where I read that and how it matched up with the doctrine that I was being taught in Sunday school, and how that matched up with what I was seeing in real life.
So did you check out any other books before the Quran?
I read through the Bhagavad Gita. I read through...
What's that?
That is the Hindu text.
Nice.
I of course read through the Torah, the Bible. I had read through some pagan understandings of religion, and I spent a good few years being a bit of a new atheist, just sort of rejecting any sort of a bit of a nihilistic worldview toward religion.
And there had to be something that sparked that journey in the first place. Sometimes you kind of have to hit rock bottom in order to really search for God. What sparked that journey towards God?
For me, it was really I hit a bit of a bottom point in mental health around the time that I was to be starting the process for confirmation in the Catholic Church.
How old are you then?
I believe I was about 13, 14, and that's where I started breaking away from the idea of religion as a construct in my young life at that point, breaking away from what my parents were telling me. And so that was my breakaway from my initial understanding of God. And I spent a good few years trying to read, learn, understand whether there was anything out there, and that's when I spent that time toward it: agnosticism, atheism, and new atheism.
And what was kind of going through your mind as you were going through these texts? I mean, was the Quran the last thing you checked out, or was it one of the first ones?
It was honestly the first. It was the one that immediately resonated with me, the understanding and the teachings there. And Bhagavad Gita was one of the last things I checked out, but I think my reading ended up being semi-ordered, I guess, where I would read the Torah, the Bible, the New Testament, because that was what I was understanding and what I was coming from. And I wanted to understand where I was coming from before I fully left, that sort of thing. And
So you did that before the Quran?
Yes.
Nice.
And then I read the Quran, and then I understood that as because Judaism, Christianity, and Islam do follow the same figure of the Abrahamic God. I followed it as I initially understood it as a sort of extension in terms of the teachings of the Abrahamic God come through the prophets through the ages, and you can learn from all of these teachings and understand yourself and God through that.
Okay, so that was one of the initial premises you recognized as soon as you read the Torah and the Bible and the Old Testament. The Torah and the Bible.
Yeah.
You recognized immediately there can only be one God, and it's the Abrahamic God that is the original version of God. And then from that, that's how you started that perspective of God, that idea of God is what allowed you to start navigating through the other texts.
Yes.
Okay. Because that's one of the issues is, and that's why I never start with people with Islam or with specifically a religion. I usually start with the idea of God, because you have to first understand whether you believe in one or two or three or four or five gods.
Yeah.
So what kind of made you go, there can only be one God? And I believe that this man Abraham had the right idea of what it was.
I was always raised in the understanding of the one God through the Trinity, but the understanding of the an understanding of a transcendental God, an omniscient and omnipotent and omnipresent God, is what I've been raised in, and you can sort of feel the influences of it in your daily life just going through. And I don't know what initially pushed me toward the existence of a single omnipresence, but that's what I've been raised in, and that's how I've been understanding it, and that's how I inform a bit of my worldview.
Yeah. So what made you choose Islam at the end? What kind of made it stand out from the rest of the text that you read?
I can't really put a finger on exactly what drew me to it. It just felt correct, you know?
Yeah.
Literally me. It's just reading it.
Yeah, because Ozzy was raised Catholic also and turned to Islam. So, you know, it's very cool because I think what it is.
Can I hug this man?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dude, that's awesome.
You know, it's very cool because the Quran itself states this. And when one of the things that I think you two did that's very different than maybe others who've, experienced the Quran, is that you went into it with the correct intention. And that correct intention was you were genuinely wanting to find God. Like, you weren't going into it with a bias of, I want to prove this Quran incorrect, or I want to see who's right and who's wrong. You were genuinely, and probably at some point, without even knowing much about your life, you were probably at some point talking to God at night, whether crying or emotional or crying on the inside or outside, and asking God, let me find you. Like, let me come to you, whoever you are, whatever it is. I know something created me out here, and I want to find you. That probably conversation you had with God, he understood it to be true, and he saw within you an intention that was pure. And that's something that the Quran states is, if your heart is true, if you're pure, if you're coming to what I'm saying to you correctly, this Quran is going to open to you. Like, it's going to reveal itself to you if you're true.
And absolutely it did.
What kind of changes have you found between, you mentioned mental health. Did Islam ever help you at all with mental health?
I found a lot of help through, I was very depressed for a great period of several years, and finding a bit of peace through Islam. I was able to move through that quite well, and I'm not quite past it, of course, but I'm looking to it as a sort of place to find resolve and place to find like ways to move forward and get through everything I need to get through, and relying on and being able to pray and feel like getting it out there, even whether or not I feel like I'm getting a response. It's I feel like I am given the courage, I'm given the energy, I'm given the resolve to keep moving forward through prayer and through Islam.
It's like a purpose within you immediately instilled. And one of the cool things about it is that the Quran, the more you read about it, you just learn more. It opens more doors for you, things that you haven't even seen before. And one of the things that I noticed within the last year or so is that God even guides your thoughts in the Quran. So many times he says "Qul," and what he's saying is say, and then he's telling you what to say. And sometimes it's straight up to yourself. It's not even to like another person. And
Yeah.
so what God even teaches us, even in those verses inadvertently, is let me teach you how to speak to yourself. Let me teach you how to navigate your thoughts.
Mhm.
So that's one thing the Quran helps with in mental health, is that it even teaches you what kind of things to say to yourself and what kind of attitude to have with yourself.
Yeah, I absolutely feel that when I pray, I get to it helps me like tangibly get to where I need to and want to be, and whether or not that's initially what I thought I needed or wanted, I can find out, and I've definitely noticed that I've been happier, I've been better off in every spiritual, emotional, physical. I've been better off since beginning to pray and beginning to look for that in my life.
And where are you in your religious journey now?
It's hard to say.
Like, how long have you been Muslim for?
A period of a few years. I couldn't give you a hard date, but sadly, I'm not able to attend mosques nearly as much as I would love to. But I haven't been able to, and I haven't really put through the effort to be finding mosques near me. I spend most of my time doing prayer alone, and doing a lot of self-reflection through that, and nurturing my individual relationship with Allah.
Do you read the Quran at all throughout the days, or is that not a part of the process for you yet?
It is. My understanding is not nearly to the point where it should be for the amount of time I spent, but I've done some reading, but not nearly enough study to where I should be, where I want to be.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, prayer is a very good way to build that relationship with God and like have that understanding. What did it require for you to be able to see the light, I guess, in a way, in the Quran?
Well, my first initial experience with the Quran was when I was reading all sorts of religious texts as literature, as not necessarily treating them as a religious text. I was treating them as sort of like a foundational classic text of a group of people, such the same as I read the Aeneid, one of the founding texts from Virgil, one of the founding texts from Rome, that describes the journey of Aeneas, a Trojan from the Iliad and Odyssey, how he came to found Italy, right? That's a foundational story that you can read a religious message into, but it acts as more of a foundational literature. And my first experience with the Bhagavad Gita, my deepest experience reading the Bible, and my first experience reading the Quran was reading them as literature and not necessarily considering that. And once I found it, it was enlightening. And then doing further reading as less as literature and more as to get a deeper, greater understanding of it.
How so was it enlightening?
It presented the lessons, it just reformulated in what I couldn't read in and understand in the translations of the Bible that I had read, right? It put the pieces together or reformulated the way that it was spoken to me such that it made sense. It was just more my learning style, I guess, and how I could connect with even any concept of a God.
So I guess my question is, what made it stand out above the others? Just as a literary text.
It's literally that. It's how it's written.
Yeah. I can't even put my finger on whether it's the way it's phrased, the specific words used, the general vibe of the text or the themes, or whether it just hit me at the right moment in my life, right? But it just made more sense. than what I had read.
I feel like God in the Quran, since it's his real words and it's unchanged words, one of the things you immediately feel is the power behind them. Like you can feel that, just like you said, the vibe of this isn't a human that wrote this.
No.
Because of the way he speaks, the way there's so much honor and power and might to even like something very simple that he says.
Absolutely.
That's crazy, man. Do you have actually, one last thing. What's your advice to someone who's searching, right? Like someone who's agnostic and genuinely trying to find the correct religion?
You can find these things individually, but I personally believe that going out and asking these sorts of questions is of just local individuals, or reading the Quran, Bhagavad Gita, Bible, Torah, trying to find that sort of deeper understanding, whether you're agnostic, whether you're atheist, whether you already have a religion, and whether you already have something you are diehard and believe in. I think that you can always find a better understanding through looking to learn and looking to ask and finding other people's relationships with God, so that you can better define and better understand your own.
Yeah, and that's...
Think critically about it. Make sure you're not just taking everything at face value. Make sure that you really understand what you're going into and understand where you're what you're looking to do.
And through that journey, did you have those moments that I kind of hinted towards earlier? Did you have those moments where it was just you alone, and you looked up in the sky and you cried, or maybe you didn't cry, but you had those emotional conversations with God?
Absolutely.
And what was kind of the things that you were asking God at that point, before you decided on a sin, before you decided anywhere, just while you were in that tough mental health, life situation that you were in?
I was asking for solace, I guess it is. I felt like I was, this metaphor I've always been heard was like just like a raft in like a hurricane or a typhoon, right? I'm being battered from all sides, and I was just looking for a break, some solace, something such that I was like...
Solace. I didn't know what solace meant either.
Comfort or consolation in distress. Yeah. I'm looking for peace, a break. I wasn't even looking for like eternal peace. I was just getting beat on all sides, right? And I couldn't keep up, and I looked to the heavens, and I found not necessarily peace, but I found the path to it, right? The path forward. And when I was looking beaten down, awful, at the worst points in my life, I was able to look up and find my way, and use Islam to find my way through to the next day, even.